when clients ask us to do SEO research, or do they have, what is the most prevalent myth, maybe? I'm not sure exactly how to word it. Like, what do they think that they can get? In other words, I know that a
Yes.
lot of times clients think that we can get them to the top of the Google
Yes.
search page. But what are they? Are they thinking similar thoughts with SEO research that is just unrealistic? That maybe people, that you have to say all the time that's not the way it works.
One of the common myths is, at least for people who are somewhat savvy around those long tail keywords, everybody thinks long tail is like the silver bullet that's going to save their life. They're going to find this magic keyword nobody else knows about, and they're going to get all this fantastically relevant traffic to their site. And the reality is, you'll see, even when I was looking at long-term keywords, long tail keywords in our research, that they can be good like blog posts, but they're not necessarily making sense in terms of sort of actionable traffic right away. It's more of an educational thing. And then the other side of that with the long tail too is you'll notice that a lot of the volume on the long tail is pretty significantly lower. So it would be something where you're building up little bits of blog traffic over time that's really going to pay off. But, are you going to find some keyword that's got as much search volume as optometrist that has no competition because nobody's ever heard of it, especially not now that so many people are doing it? It's pretty rare. So that's one around the long tail keywords. I think just the idea that keyword research, like, yeah, we're going to go in, we're going to find these keywords, and then they're going to immediately be on the first page of Google. That's the other big myth, is how quickly it happens. Organic does not happen quickly. I mean, you're looking usually at least 6 months. Depending on how competitive your space is, it could be a lot longer. Occasionally, we do happen to find really underserved markets, like do-it-yourself pest control is one where, but for Bug and Weed Mart, it's paid off really well for us. Because it's not really competitive, so we can come in and dominate that space. That's pretty rare. We have other clients where it's the chance of them even organically getting to the top of the list without a significant investment is pretty difficult. And that's where you have to look at a lot more than just keywords. That's where you have to look at reviews and listings and social media, because you really have to be doing all those things to get into those. Does that answer that question?
Yes, thanks.
Kitty, when you initially said myth, I was thinking about something that Jasmine touched on earlier about like ophthalmology. I think clients assume that people talk about their business the way they think of their business, and that's not necessarily the most searched for terms.
Yep. And that's a great point too. Most of our clients, yeah, they assume that their clients think about their industry the way they do, and they don't, because they're not the expert. They don't know, and they're not as technically savvy. So that's absolutely where some education on the idea that, and that's where the keyword research can come in, because we can actually show them numbers, and we can say, well, here when we search for optometrists is what we're getting, and yeah, the volume's a little higher, but you see all these related keywords, they really tell us that these are not people like average Joes, but these are people who are looking for a school, or these are people who are looking to learn about how to do their business. Versus when you search eye doctor and you look at the related terms, they're much more relevant to somebody who's looking to actually go have their eyes checked.
I have a question, Jasmine.
Yep.
You talked about competition and the competitiveness of things, and how maybe that's not so hot. But we see oftentimes with specifically with particular industries, where the core terms are really highly competitive.
Yep.
And yet it seems kind of due diligence for clients to use those keywords.
Yes. And yeah, absolutely. Well, because and that goes back to that volume or that popularity thing, and I know this being our lead researcher, is that sure, you can go, well, it's too competitive, we're not going to go in that space. But if that's really, especially there's a few industries where that's just what there's one or two words and that's what everybody looks for that industry. Like optometry is kind of an interesting one because there's a lot of variations. You've got eye doctor, you've got eyeglasses, eye exams. They're a little unusual in that for most of our clients, like the veterinarian, people are going to be looking for, although veterinarian's an interesting one because you've got the short word vet. which then has a double meaning, which brings its whole own particular issues. But you tend to have, generally, there's a handful, like let's say 2 or 3 words that are sort of how everybody looks in the industry. And so to just sort of ignore those because they're competitive, I don't know that makes sense. And that's where the geography thing can come in if it makes sense. Really optimizing, like hair salons, very competitive because obviously there's a lot of salons out there, but we also know that they're very hyper local, meaning people don't travel far to go to a salon. So we don't need everybody in Phoenix to come to our salon. We really only need everybody within a 5-mile radius, so we can really then tackle specific geo terms. So even, hair salon in a specific neighborhood or hair salon in a specific city to help counteract that as well.